Dantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagan Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakti Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Hare Krishna. So last session was the second session on the second chapter. As we all know, Bhagavad-Gita is divided into 3 sections. The first 6 chapters comprise of the Karma Yoga leading to Bhakti. And this chapter is entitled by Srila Prabhupada as Contents of Gita Summarized. So when we say Contents of Gita Summarized, that means all that we need to know from the Bhagavad-Gita is already presented in this chapter. All the 3 yogas, the Karma Yoga section, predominantly Krishna speaks about Karma Yoga. He speaks the Mahavakya of Gita, Karmanye Vadhikaraste. That is in the first 6 chapters. And in this particular chapter, Krishna speaks this verse. And Krishna also speaks about Jnana, that is Buddhi Yoga. Applying one's intelligence, his knowledge, to perform action in devotion. That is Buddhi Yoga. And Krishna also talks about Bhakti. Krishna speaks about Bhakti Yoga. But not much, but he gives a hint, indication that how Arjuna should perform this activity of fighting in the spirit of Bhakti Yoga. So this chapter summarizes all the 3 aspects, all the entire contents of Bhagavad-Gita. And also if we see what Bhagavad-Gita has 5 subject matters. What are the 5 subject matters of Bhagavad-Gita? Mamta? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, soul, nature.
Very good.
Soul, nature.
It is many days
मुझे
since
याद
we
नहीं आ
are
रहा है.
out of touch. We are becoming out of touch. I was also feeling very dry. For last 15 days, I don't remember when I gave the last class. I think on 15th I gave in the temple hall, but after that there was no class. Very simple. First is the Jiva, the living entity himself, we. Second is, as you said, nature, Prakriti. And both Jiva and Prakriti is controlled. So who is the controller? That is Ishvara. Jiva, Prakriti, Ishvara. And what is Jiva? Our main emphasis, our focus is on ourselves. So what the Jiva does? He does karma, activity, which binds him and grinds him through the time factor, which is Kal. Okay, so you will never forget. Jiva, Prakriti, Ishvara, Karma and Kal. So Krishna starts to speak very detailed discussion on this chapter about who the living entity is, Jiva is, and how the living entity who is in this material world under the influence of time factor, which is Kal, he is caught in the quagmire of action, which is karma, and how he can be released by the performance of Buddhi Yoga. So Krishna, in a way, he gives the synopsis. He gives the synopsis of the entire Bhagavad-Gita. And this contents of Gita summarized is from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's commentary on Bhagavad-Gita. So we saw in the first 6 verses. Today we will take the 7th verse. This is one of the most defining verse. This is the defining verse in Bhagavad-Gita. Because Krishna did not speak Bhagavad-Gita unless and until Arjuna spoke this verse. So in our life also, although we are hearing, we are studying, or maybe we are even speaking Bhagavad-Gita, but actually when will Bhagavad-Gita begin to be applicable in our life is when this defining moment in our life arrives, which is the 7th verse. Unless and until the Jiva, he genuinely accepts the position of Arjuna, which Arjuna will reveal in this verse, he cannot have access to Bhagavad-Gita. That is why Bhagavad-Gita is such a mystical book. What is the mystery about Bhagavad-Gita? Although it is open, but still it cannot be accessed. Why? Because what is the access key? The access key is this verse, 2.7 verse. So before I come to this verse, a short recap of what we saw in the first chapter and in the first 6 verses. That Arjuna is giving so many arguments. Arjuna is resisting. He is refuting, rather refusing to fight, to perform his dharma. The principal reasons is, who remembers the principal reasons? What are the reasons? What is the reason number 1 that he gives? Who remembers the first reason of
Compassion.
Arjuna? Yeah, material compassion. Not just compassion, material compassion. Because he was identifying himself and others on the platform of body, not at the platform of soul. So material compassion. Okay, very good. What is the second argument?
His enjoyment.
Yeah. His enjoyment will be lost. Arjuna was saying that if he fights and he wins, he will not be able to enjoy. What was the reason he gave? Mamta? Why he will not be able to enjoy even if he wins and he gets the kingdom, the unrivaled kingdom? Why he will not be able to enjoy?
Prabhuji, actually Arjuna, he is not thinking about the enjoyment of the Lord. He was just thinking about his enjoyment.
No. That is true. But why Arjuna will not be able to enjoy if he wins? If he gets the kingdom, why he will not be able to enjoy? Why is he so saying that he will not be able to enjoy? If he even wins, if he fights and if he wins, he will not be able to enjoy. How? It is like saying that if you get 1 crore rupee, you will not be able to enjoy. Will you agree? Mamta? If somebody offers you, say, 1 crore rupee, God forbid he should not offer. So what will you say? I will not take it because I will not be able to enjoy. Will you reject the proposal?
No, Prabhuji.
Be honest. No, we will accept. So Arjuna is saying that even if I fight and if I win, Kim nu rajena govinda, kim bhogena jivatena va. Why Arjuna is saying that he will not be able to enjoy? We should know the reason, not just the term. Why he will not be able to enjoy? Ganesh Prabhu?
Prabhuji, Arjuna has some fear of losing his family members and relatives. Because of
So
this,
what is
that he will not.
So what is the fear? What is the fear in the heart of Arjuna?
That losing his relatives and friends.
Have you been helped by Sonika? He gave a in the chat box. He wrote something. She wrote. Are you knew it? Yes, you are right. Arjuna is fearing that if he loses his relatives, and which of the relative? His grandfather Bhishma. He says, Kim yu rajena govinda, kim bhogena jivatena va. How can I enjoy the kingdom which is tainted with the blood of my most affectionate grandfather Bhishma? So that was the second reason we saw in the first chapter. And what was the third reason? Ravindra Prabhu, what was the third reason? You can unmute and speak, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
If he will kill the Pitama and his guru and his Pitama, then the
Not clear.
वो पाप का भागीदार नहीं बनना चाह रहे थे.
Yes. What was the verse? What is the verse? Quickly. It should not be that.
Verse number 5.
Verse number 5. See,
Sorry.
Sonika is giving the right verse. Yes, Sonika. Speak, we will be able to hear.
Hare 0.36.
Yeah. 1.36. He says, Papa meva shriyadasman hatvetan atataina. He's saying that if I kill those who are atatai aggressors, I will be inflicted by sin. We discussed this. And that is why I don't want to fight. I don't want to kill. Even those who are aggressors, those who are sinful, if he kills, he says sin will be inflicted upon me. Krishna already refuted that. We will see in the second chapter, Krishna will refute that also. And what is the fourth reason? The prominent fourth reason which Arjuna gave, Dipankar?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji, the fourth reason is the loss of family tradition, Prabhuji. And unwanted Prabhuji.
Yes. Very good. Loss, destruction of the family and unwanted progeny. So after giving all this, very heavy and voluminous reasons, quoting Shastra, quoting authority on his own, this did not work for Arjuna. And Arjuna is so much confused. But the merit of Arjuna is depicted in this sixth verse, the last verse that we discussed. Arjuna accepts his situation. He says that we do not know which is better, conquering them or being conquered by them. If we kill the sons of Dhritarashtra, we should not care to live. Yet they are now standing before us on the battlefield. So the verse that he says, Na chetat vidmo kataran na ganiyo, that I do not know. Vidma, this is the root words from where the word Vidya comes. Vidma means to know, one who is in knowledge. So Arjuna is accepting that he is not situated in the knowledge. Because he is not situated in the knowledge platform, he cannot decide what is right, what is wrong. So he is accepting that. Na cha etat vidmo kataran na variya. That we do not know which is better. So this is a very big step forward. That Arjuna is accepting his confusion. Arjuna is in indecision. And that is why the crisis is. Why Arjuna is found in this situation of crisis? Because he is confused. He cannot decide. Why? Because frankly, he does not know what is better for him. So in a situation when we do not know what is good for us, what is right, what is wrong, what is dharma, what is adharma, what is duty. So what we should do? So Arjuna is showing us the path. Prabhupada writes in the last para of the purport, Prabhupada says that Arjuna was truly virtuous as with the qualities combined with his faith in the words of the instructions of Sri Krishna, his spiritual master, indicate. It is concluded that Arjuna was quite fit for liberation. So whoever becomes a student of Bhagavad-Gita, he is fit for liberation. How? Prabhupada writes in this para, further he says, unless the senses are controlled, so who is fit for liberation? One who is attempting to control his senses. So Prabhupada says that unless and until one's senses are controlled, there is no chance of elevation to the platform of knowledge. We will see in the fourth chapter also. Krishna says that who can receive this knowledge? One whose senses are controlled. And without knowledge and devotion, there is no chance of liberation. So Arjuna has all the three requisites. He is controlled in his senses, so much so that he is called Gudakesh. He could even conquer his sleep. We see ourselves that few days we did not sleep well, the body collapsed. But not with Arjuna. Arjuna is far ahead. How? Because elevation to the platform of knowledge, this is the first requisite, that one should be controlled in senses. Second, he must be a devotee of the Lord. Then only the knowledge will come. And if one has all the three, then he is sure to achieve the result. What is the result? That one can come to the platform of being Brahma Bhuta. So Bhagavad-Gita uplifts us to come to the platform of Jiva Bhuta, but there is immense struggle. To the extent one is on the bodily platform, one will only experience struggle. Both when he realizes that he is not this body, he is soul. So Prabhupada said that Arjuna was competent in all these attributes over and above the enormous attributes of his material relationship. So let us see what Arjuna confesses in this state of indecision, and how this is the turning point in Bhagavad-Gita. Or as Prabhupada says, that this is the, Prabhupada says this is the turning point of Bhagavad-Gita. Very beautiful verse, the verse we should all memorize. Karpanya dosho upahat svabhava prekshami tvam dharma sammudha chetah yat shreyasya nishchitam bruhi tanme shishyasteham shadimam tvam prapannam. One of you would like to repeat this verse? Yes, Sonika.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Karpanya dosho pahata svabhava prichhami tvam dharma sammudha cheta yashesha nishchitam rohitanme sishyasteham sadhimam tvam prapannam.
Thank you. Very, very sweet. Bhagavad-Gita, it is Geet. It is Bhagavad-Gita. Geet means the song divine, which is flowing from the heart of the Supreme Lord. But here we hear the heart of Arjuna. And what is the heart of Arjuna? Echoing, very beautiful. He is saying, Shishyasteham adimam tvam prapannam. Very important verse. So Arjuna is accepting his situation, his reality. He is thoroughly honest. He says, Karpanya dosha. The dosha means the fault. Or dosha also means some weakness. So here Arjuna is accepting his incapacity or his weakness, his fault. He's saying that I am at fault. If one accepts that he is at fault, what he will do? He will only improve. One who fails to accept his fault can never improve. It is impossible for him to improve. And what kind of dosha is there? Karpanya dosha. Karpanya. Karpanya means that Prabhupada writes, translates the word Karpanya as miserliness. You know what is miser? Miser means one who has the resources, but he is not able to utilize that resource or that ability in the rightful way. So what is the Karpanya dosha? Krishna has already chastised Arjuna in the second and third verse. What Krishna says? What was the second verse? Who remembers the second verse? Bhagavad-Gita second chapter should be memorized. What did Krishna say? Kutasva kashmalamidam vishame samupasthitam. So kashmala. Kashmala means impurities. So what is filled in his heart is the impurities. What are these impurities? His attachments. Because of his attachments, he is not able to perform his duty. That is the dosha. That is the Karpanya dosha. And this Karpanya dosha is there with every conditioned living entity. What is the Karpanya dosha? that we have this human form of body. We have the most gifted ability of human intelligence. And what is the purpose of human intelligence? Is to inquire about the superior truth, about the absolute truth. Atato Brahma Jigyasa. And if we fail to inquire, or if we fail to aspire for realizing the absolute truth, so one is inflicted with Karpanya dosha. So practically speaking, everyone in this human form of life is inflicted with this dosha, leaving few very select advanced souls. Everyone is inflicted with Karpanya dosha. But how many of us are accepting that we are inflicted with this Karpanya dosha? And what this dosha does? Upahat swabhavaha. Upahat means, upahat also means that it is aprahat. Aprahat means which has been stolen away, or which gets covered. What gets covered is the swabhava. Swabhava means one's intrinsic quality or one's real nature, or here Prabhupada writes one's characteristic. The same. So because of this miserly weakness, what is covered, what is afflicted is our natural position. Swabhav, our natural propensity or our natural characteristic is covered. What is the natural characteristic of a jiva? Jivere swarup hoye krishnera nityadas. But we are not in that constitutional position. Why? Due to Karpanya dosha. That swabhava has been covered. That swabhava has been afflicted. Why? So we take the position which is not the natural position. That is why in one of the purports, I think in 7.3, Prabhupada writes that Jiva takes a artificial position in this material world, which is not his constitutional position. Why? Because the swabhava has been upahat. It has been covered. So unless and until the Karpanya dosha is removed, the real swabhava of the jiva will not be manifest. It will not be illuminated. Like the sun, when it is covered by cloud, we cannot see the effulgence of the sun. So similarly, the attraction of the jiva towards the Supreme Lord is natural. Like a magnet is attracted towards the iron, or rather the iron is attracted towards the magnet. But it is the Karpanya dosha, the rust effect. It does not allow the natural attraction towards the Supreme Lord. So Arjuna is teaching us. So in this situation, how many of you feel that we are in this situation of Karpanya dosha and Upahat Swabhava? Genuinely. Some are already liberated. They don't feel so. So in such a situation, when one is afflicted by Karpanya dosha and he is not in his natural position, what he should do, Arjuna is teaching us. Prikshami tvam. Priksha. Sadharma priksha. Shri Rupa Goswami says that what a sincere soul does, he does sadharma priksha. Dharma priksha. Dharma priksha means inquiry which is on the religious path. So Arjuna is saying, Prikshami tvam. I am asking you. Why? Because I am dharma sammudha chetaha. So one whose swabhava is upahat, he is also dharma sammudha chetaha. What he does? He does activity which is contrary to dharma. He cannot perform any religious activity. That is why karma kanda has been condemned. Because these so-called karma kanda activities may seem to be religious like activity, but they're actually not religious. Why? Because one is not in the constitutional position. So how can he perform the religious activity? So here Arjuna is saying dharma sammudha. Dharma means is what is right, what will give one liberation from the bondage of karma. So karma kanda does not give liberation. Rather, it entangles the jiva to remain in the action and reaction of karma. So he says, I am sammudha. Dharma and sammudha. Krishna has used this term, mudha. You know the word mudha? Mudha means one who is grossly foolish, who does not know. So Arjuna is accepting this position of being a mudha. He's saying, I am sammudha. Samyak rupena mudha. That I am completely bewildered. I am completely confused. That means on my own, I have no solution. So I am asking you, what is he asking? Yat Shreya. So what is the most beneficial for me? Yeah, Prabhupada says all good, yeah. So that which is beneficial for me, that which is the ultimate good for me. And he says, Nishchitam Bhovitanme. You kindly speak or you kindly advise. There are two aspects. One is the Shreyas and the other is the Preyas. So those who are on the devotional path, they are inclined for Shreyas. Shreyas means which is the ultimate benefit of the soul. What is the ultimate benefit of the soul? Devadatta, what is the ultimate benefit?
To be the proper devotee of God.
To serve the Lord.
Yes.
Shreya Kairav Chandrika Vitaranam Vidya Vadhu Jivanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Pratipadam Purnamrita Swadanam Sarvatsmana Param Stapanam Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. This is the conclusion of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So what is the Shreyas? Is one's service attitude to serve the Lord. So here he is asking, Yat Shreyasyam, that which is of ultimate good for me, that which is of ultimate benefit for me. All that is all good for me. You please Nishchitam. You very clearly reveal to me. But why will Krishna reveal? So here Arjuna is saying, Shishyasteham. So far Arjuna was taking the position of a friend or of a relative. Arjuna happens to be in the Sākhya Ras. He is the friend of Krishna. And Arjuna also happens to be in relationship. Arjuna's mother and Krishna's father are both brothers and sisters. But now Arjuna has foregone both the relationship. And he is accepting his relationship of being a Shishyas, of being a disciple. And he said, Shadi mam tvam prapannam. Sha adhi. Adhi means to, we have discussed in the 8th chapter. Sadi bhuta, adhi yagya. So adhi means that one who is above. So because I am taking the position of a disciple, so who is taking the position of a teacher is Krishna. So in a relationship between teacher and the disciple and the student, what is the position of the teacher? That he instructs or he gives direction. So he says, Shadhimam. So kindly instruct me that what is the most beneficial for me. And why? Because I am taking your shelter. Tvam prapannam. I am surrendering unto you. So if one is a disciple and he is not surrendered, then he is not a disciple. And if one is a teacher and he is not instructing how to give the all benefit to the student, he is a teacher in name. So here a very beautiful verse where Arjuna is accepting the reality of his position, his situation. He's saying, now I am confused. So who in this material world is not confused? Who is absolutely clear? No one. Why? Because it is the nature of the three modes to bewilder everyone. Even if one is in goodness, bewilderment still continues. Now I am confused about my duty. The duty is dharma. He says, dharma sammudha, and have lost all composure because of miserly weakness, that is karpanya dosha. In this condition, this is the conditioned state of life, when one thinks that he is the product of the material modes, body or his mind. I am asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. Now I am your disciple and a soul surrender unto me, unto you. Please instruct me. So all our acharyas speak and say, and we have seen in our practical experience also. So unless and until one takes the position of a disciple or of a student, his learning never begins. Learning does not begin. That we see even in our academics. To the extent we accept the teacher as authority, to that extent he can implant knowledge. So here Arjuna this is a very big shift from his previous position. So far he was arguing, he was refuting, he was refusing. But that did not help him. So we see from Arjuna's situation, from Arjuna's position, that unless and until we accept and take the position of being submitted, of taking the position of a student or a disciple, our confusion in life will not get clear. Again and again we will be caught in the same situation. And Arjuna wants to get rid of this situation. So he's saying, you please instruct me. So far Arjuna was giving his own reasons. What is good for him? As if he knew what the solution is. But nothing of it worked. So now Arjuna is admitting. This is a very big step. If the conditioned soul, he wants to be on the path of liberation, he has to follow the footsteps of Arjuna. That when he accepts that he is inflicted with karpanya dosha. And his swabhava is upahati. And he is willing, he is aspiring to apply what is being instructed. So Prabhupada gives a big commentary, and Prabhupada starts by saying that how this is the arrangement of the Lord in the form of material nature. He says, by nature's own way, the complete system of material activity is a source of perplexity for everyone. So till what state we will be in confusion? Very clear. To the extent we perform material activity. To the extent we are performing karma. To the extent we are within the three modes. There will always be bewilderment and confusion in our heart. Prabhupada says, the complete system of material is a source of perplexity for everyone. No one is spared. No one. There is no exception to it. One moment. So material nature, this is the gift of material nature. That whoever comes in this material world, what he performs some material activity. And as he performs the material activity, he will remain in the state of perplexity, in confusion, in bewilderment, in indecision. Prabhupada says for the very, very significant purport, Prabhupada says, in every step there is perplexity. That is why Avacharya says, Padam padam yad vipadam na tesham. In every step, this is coming from that realization of Lord Brahma. For the first time it has struck me. It is Padam padam yad vipadam na tesham. Prabhupada says, in every step there is perplexity. Why? Because every moment we are performing material activity. Of course, those who are not fixed up in devotional life, what are they doing? They are performing material activity, karma. And karma is performed according to the influence of Guna. And what Guna does? Guna means rasi, rope. It binds the jiva. Where? In the body or in this material existence. And not only he is bound, he is always in a state of confusion. There is no clarity in his heart. So in every step there is perplexity, and therefore Prabhupada says it behooves one to approach a bona fide spiritual master. So everyone who is in this material existence is in this situation of utter confusion. And he is not able to know what to do, what not to do. So Prabhupada says that it behooves one, therefore it behooves one. Behooves means that it implies or it impels. That is not an option, it is a compulsion. It behooves one to approach a bona fide spiritual master. We were hearing the Vyas Puja class of His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. Maharaj this time was emphasizing on this line only, that one must seek shelter of a bona fide spiritual master and take initiation from him. Why there is a need of a spiritual master? Because who can give proper guidance for executing the purpose of life. So the purpose of human life cannot be accomplished unless and until one is guided by a spiritual master or his representative. All Vedic literatures advise us to approach a bona fide spiritual master to get free from the perplexities of life. Until what time this fast, this is called karma fast. Srila Lochandas Thakur in one of his songs, he says that this karma fast is not leaving me. What is this karma fast? Any activity which is not devotional service is karma fast. It's a source of perplexity, suffering for everyone. So to get free from these perplexities of life, which happens without our desire. So no one wants to suffer. No one wants to be entangled. No one wants confusion. No one wants bewilderment. But still, it is inflicted upon us. Because this is the arrangement of the Lord. What is the arrangement of the Lord? That those who do not perform dharma, those who do not perform duty, they will remain perplexed. They will remain in the state of confusion. Prabhupada gives another example. Prabhupada gives the example of the forest fire. Prabhupada says they are like a forest fire that somehow blazes without being set by anyone. I remember a few years back in US, there was a big forest fire. Anyone remembers? It cannot be terminated. Once the forest fire is set, it cannot be terminated. What it does, it terminates the entire forest. The fire terminates the forest. How? By
Prabhuji, आप muted हैं.
muted. Thank you. Hare Krishna. So the example of this forest fire is very apt because no one sets the forest on fire. But how it happened? It happens by the revving effect. You know how the forest fire happens? In the forest there are bamboo trees. And when these bamboo trees, when there is the air breeze which moves, so there is the rubbing effect, the colliding of the bamboo trees. And the forest fire, emanates from there. So this material world that is why it is called Sansara-dava Nalali-dhaloka. So to the extent we will live in this material world, we will be inflicted with this fire. What is this fire? Fire means tapaha. Tap. Trivida tap. Similarly, the world situation is such that perplexities of life automatically appear. You will see, you just analyze the situation. There is one problem which is, tormenting your heart and you try to resolve it. Before it gets resolved, another bigger problem comes up, which causes so much of burning in the heart. So Prabhupada is saying, so please try to accept what Srila Prabhupada is speaking. He is saying, world situation is such that the purpose of life without our wanting such confusion. No one wants fire and yet it takes place and one becomes perplexed. The Vedic wisdom therefore advises that in order to solve the perplexities of life and to understand understand the signs of solution.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, you are muted, Prabhuji.
I'll unmute. So the spiritual master, he is compared to the cloud, which brings the rains. And when the forest fire can be terminated, when there is incessant rains. Fire brigade cannot terminate the forest fire. It is only when the heavens open up, when the clouds pour. That is why we sing. Please try to relate. Very beautiful. Sansar dava nalalida loka Pranaya karunya ghana ghana tvam Praptasya kalyana gunanavasya Vande Guru Shri Charana. So that kalyana, the all auspiciousness, the all good can only happen when one receives the rain of spiritual instructions from the lotus mouth of the spiritual master, and one accepts and applies. Then only this forest fire which is there in the heart. Where is this? Our heart is like a forest. In forest there are millions of species of fauna and flora. In our heart there are millions of desires, material desires, which want us to enjoy this material world. It is only by the rain which comes from the Vani of the spiritual master that one can come out of the situation. The Prabhupada says, the word, no one wants fire, yet it takes place, and we become perplexed. Therefore, Vedic wisdom advises that in order to understand the science of solution, one must approach a spiritual master. It is not that the spiritual master will come to you, my dear sirs and ladies. Tasmat gurum prapadyate jigyashu shreya uttamam. On the appearance day of Srila Prabhupada, how many of you heard Srila Prabhupada's appearance day lecture? On 20th of August. What is the verse number? Now Manish for sure knows, because he got a heavy chastisement from me. Yes, any one of you who knows the verse number? If you heard, then you tell me what was the verse. This is the verse. 11:3:21. Tasmat gurum prapadyate jigyashu shreya uttamam. I'll share the verse. Not everyone can approach the spiritual master. It is not possible. Why it is not possible? This verse speaks. This is Prabhupada's commentary. Prabhupada says, can you see the screen? Is it visible? Suman, dikh raha hai?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Tasmat gurum prapadyate jigyashu shreya uttamam. Again the word shreya is coming. And Shreya is listening. She is hearing. What it means to be Shreyas. Shreyas means the ultimate benefit, the ultimate good. But who can inquire about Shreya Uttamam? Who is Jigyasu? So Prabhupada says that therefore any person who desires, who seriously desires, not desires. Prabhupada says any person who seriously desires real happiness must seek a bona fide spiritual master. So unless and until one is serious and one is inquiring about the absolute truth, there is no question of seeking a spiritual master. So here Prabhupada is saying that to understand the science of solution, one must approach a spiritual master who is in disciplic succession. And Prabhupada gives a very, very revolutionary statement. Please watch the next statement. Prabhupada says, a person with a bona fide spiritual master is supposed to know everything. One who knows everything, what is the question of any confusion in his heart? Why? Because he is under the shelter. He knows what is to be done and what is not to be done. So there is no question of any confusion in his heart. But to the extent one has accepted the shelter of a spiritual master, one has submitted to a spiritual master, one is freed from any confusion in life. In any way, he approaches the spiritual master or his representative and inquires, like Arjuna is saying. He is inquiring, Prikshami, you please tell me what is good for me. Not that he decides on his own what is good for me. On his own, what he will do? He will remain in the trap of karma. He will retain in the trap of material activity. So Prabhupada says one should not therefore remain in material perplexity, but should approach a spiritual master. One has to approach a spiritual master. That means one has to make an effort. Unless and until he makes an effort, it is not possible that he will get access or shelter of the spiritual master. That means the soul must genuinely cultivate desire to take shelter. If he fails to do so, he will not receive the shelter. Even if he becomes formally a disciple, but unless and until that inquisitiveness is there in the heart, like Arjuna is showing here, Yat Shreya Shyat, that you please tell me what is good. That means I do not know. If the jiva, he comes to this point of accepting that he does not know what is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong, what is to be done, what is not to be done, he will continue in the cycle of birth and death. That is why our Shastras, in our line of Acharyas, Srila Sanatan Goswami example is very, very formidable. He says, Apanara hita hit kichu nahi jane. I do not know what is my hit, what is my shreyas. So you please kindly tell me. So Prabhupada is saying that one who wants to be free from material perplexities, he should approach the spiritual master. This is the purport of this verse. This is the essence. This is the essence of Bhagavad-Gita. is one who wants to be free from all perplexity, of confusion, all anxiety, all disturbances. What he has to do? He has to take shelter of a spiritual master who's coming in bona fide with a fixed Krishna. And Prabhupada now questioned that who is the man in perplexity? It is he who does not understand the problems of life. What are the problems of life? Roti, kapda, or makan. Everyone in this material world is considering the problems of life, how he can have his daily bread. That is why people are going to the churches and praying, "Oh God, give us this day our daily bread." The Prabhupada says, no. This is not the problem of life. Human may be consuming one loaf of bread or maybe two loaves of bread. How many of you have consumed one loaf of bread? Anyone? You understand one loaf of bread, na? Bread का एक पूरा पैकेट किसने खाया? नहीं खाया ना, नहीं खा सकते. But the animals who consume many more loaves of bread, they don't have to go and pray to get their loaf of bread. They're getting, because this is the nature's arrangement. For everyone there is food provided. So food, shelter and clothing is not the real problem of life. So what is the real problem of life? In the Brihad-Aranyaka Upanishad, the perplexed man is described as follows. Yova etat aksharam gargi avidatva smalam lokat prati sakripanaha. He is a miserly man who does not solve the problems of life as a human and who thus quits this world like cats and dogs without understanding the signs of self-realization. So Prabhupada says that one who does not solve the problem of life. And what is the problem of life? That one must be situated. The solution is that he must be self-realized. If one is not in self-realization, one is not self-realized, then he is in the perfect state of life. He has not solved the problem of life. His human life is a waste. Prabhupada is comparing such a human being to that of cats and dogs. So without understanding the science of self-life, this human form of life is most valuable asset for the living entity who can utilize it for solving the problems of life. Therefore, one who does not utilize this opportunity properly is a miser. That is karpanya dosha. So the human form of life is not utilized for realization of the self, which is beyond the body and the mind. Then this human form of life is a waste. It is karpanya dosha. On the other hand, there is a Brahmana, or who is intelligent enough to utilize his body to solve all the problems of life. So either one is a Kripana or one is a Brahmana. So that is why it is said, Brahma janati so Brahmana. Brahma janati. Brahma means that one is not this body. One who has realized that he is an eternal soul. So such a person is Brahmana. And if one is not a Brahmana, that is why in our society we get Brahman Diksha. It is called Brahman Initiation. It is not Brahman perfection. It is Brahman Initiation. Initiation means the beginning. Beginning. The journey begins from here. When one is twice born. So that he receives knowledge, and through that knowledge he applies it in his real life, and he can have this realization. If the human form of life is not utilized for this Brahmanical purpose of self-realization, That one is Karpanya dosha. Or he is intelligent enough to utilize this body to solve all the problems. Ya etat aksharam gargi vidat smalam lokat priti sa brahmana. So can you see both these statements? Which is there from the Bhagavad-Gita Upanishad? It is saying prati sa karpana and it is saying prati sa brahmana. What is the difference? Both these statements are exactly the same. Why one is being called brahmana and the other is being called kripana? Can you see? Can you find out what is the difference? Why one is being called brahmana and one is called kripana? Konal?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Yes.
प्रभुजी ब्राह्मणा, प्रभुजी जैसा आपने बताया कि ब्राह्मणा वही है ब्रह्म जानाति थी
Don't interpret. My dear, don't interpret. I am asking you specifically from the statement of Bhagavad-Gita Upanishad. Prabhupada is writing both the statements. One is saying is Kripana and the other is Brahmana. Where is the difference? You read this statement very carefully. Manish Prabhu, what is the
Hare
difference?
Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, there is a difference in one word. This is Vidit Samal and another is Avidit Basmal. Means
Yes, very good.
one is
You have
following,
hit the,
one is...
you have hit the nail on the head. If you hit the nail on the head, what will happen? It will get deeper into the wall. And if you hang something, it will not fall. Okay, explain please. What is the difference? What it means?
The Kripana will be one who is not understanding the science of self-realization, and the Brahmana will be one who is trying to understand the science of self-realization.
Okay, very good. Someone can explain further in Sanskrit terms? Yes, Sonika?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. In Sanskrit, I don't know, but as per the purport of Srila Prabhupada, he told that Avidit Swamal is it is representative to the man who can not solve their problems, but Vidit Swamal is that they can understand or realize the problem and try to solve it.
That is true. Vidit, you have heard the word Vidit. Vidit means one who knows. And Avidit means one who does not know. What he does not know? The purpose of human life. So to the extent one is Avidit, one who does not know the purpose of human life, he is thinking eating, sleeping, mating and defending is the purpose of human life. He is a Kripana. And one who knows that self-realization is the purpose of human life, he is a Brahmana. It is approaching 9. Very quickly I'll go through. But this verse has to be really discussed deeply. My teacher told me that you should read this verse hundreds of times. Hundreds of times. To be able to have some aspiration. That what is our situation. The Kripanas or miserly person, Prabhupada gives a very heavy purport. The Kripanas or miserly person waste their time in being overly affectionate for family, society, country, etc. in the material conception of life. This is what Arjuna was doing. He was being overly affectionate for his family. Then he is saying, the destruction of the society, country, Varna Sankar. In the material conception of one is often attached to family life, namely to wife, children, and other members on the basis of skin disease. The Kripanas thinks that he is able to protect his family members from death, or the Kripana thinks that his family or society can save him from the verge of death. Such family attachment can be found even in the lower animals, who take care of children also. Being intelligent, Arjuna could understand that his affection for family members and his wish to protect them from death were the cause of his perplexities. We try to read Prabhupada's purport with a little bit of attention. Prabhupada said, being intelligent, Arjuna could understand, or Arjuna could detect why he was inflicted with perplexities. But because we are not intelligent, neither we can detect nor can we accept. And we continue to remain in perplexity. Although he could understand that his duty to fight was awaiting him, still on account of miserly weakness, he could not discharge his duties. That is the Karpanya dosha. So many times we know in our spiritual practice that what we should be doing. We should be sleeping in time, not remaining awake at night. But still, it is because of our miserly weakness, our attachments. We don't sleep in time and we don't wake up in time. If we don't wake up in time, we are not able to perform our sadhana bhakti properly. So many attachments are there. So Arjuna, he could understand that his duty was to fight, was awaiting him. Still on account of miserly weakness, he could not discharge him. He therefore asking Lord Krishna, his supreme spiritual master, to make a definite solution. He offered himself to Krishna as a disciple. He wants to stop friendly talks. Talk between the master and the disciples are serious. And now Arjuna wants to talk very seriously. That's why Prabhupada says that one who is very serious about real happiness. Tasmad gurum prapadyate jigyashu shreya uttamam. One whose jigyasha is shreya and uttama. Both. Jigyasha should be shreya. ये नहीं कि मेरी नौकरी कहाँ लगेगी, मुझे अच्छा मकान कब मिलेगा, या how will I get a beautiful wife or a earning husband. This is not Shreyas and Uttamam Jigyasa. Many times we see that even in spiritual life, people want to have such solutions. It is not Jigyasa Shreya Uttama. So Arjuna wants to talk very seriously before the recognized spiritual master. Krishna is therefore the original spiritual master of the science of Bhagavad-Gita, and Arjuna is the first disciple for understanding the Gita. So how the understanding will come? When one accepts that he does not know. So you please guide him. You please instruct him. How Arjuna understands the Bhagavad-Gita is stated in Gita itself, here itself, in this verse. And yet, foolish, mundane scholars explain that one need not submit to Krishna as a person, but to unborn within Krishna. So Prabhupada hammers the impersonalist, the non-devotees who give commentary on Bhagavad-Gita. There is no difference between Krishna within and without. And he who has no sense of this understanding is the greatest fool in trying to understand Bhagavad-Gita. So I'll stop here. It is just 1 minute to 9. If there is any jigyasa, you may inquire. Yes, Sonika. बोलिए, your hand is up, Sonika.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
Go
ahead.
प्रभु जी, आपने श्रेयस और प्रेयस के बारे में आपने मेंशन किया था. श्रेयस के बारे में आपने बताया था. व्हाट इज प्रेयस?
Prayas means the immediate benefit. Immediate benefit is what? The benefit which can give me some sense enjoyment, some sense pleasure, some temporary pleasure. Prayas is which is immediate enjoyment, which is temporary, and Shreyas is which is the ultimate benefit, which is permanent. So everyone in this world is looking for prayers, sense enjoyment, material enjoyment. Okay? Okay, Mamta, what is your question?
प्रभु जी, आपने मेंशन किया था कि जो भी मतलब पर्सन होता है, अगर मोड्स ऑफ नेचर में है तो फिर वो कहीं ना कहीं आपके मतलब उनमें कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी और मतलब कंफ्यूजन क्रिएट होता है. बट जो अर्जुन थे उनमें डिवाइन क्वालिटीज थी. फिर भी मतलब मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है प्रभु जी, अगर किसी भी पर्सन में अगर डिवाइन क्वालिटीज होती हैं तो देयर इज नो चांस ऑफ गेटिंग लिबरेटेड फ्रॉम दिस मटेरियल वर्ल्ड. अगर डिवाइन क्वालिटीज हैं उसके बावजूद मतलब
डिवाइन क्वालिटीज कब मैनिफेस्ट होते हैं? जब हम डिवाइन इंस्ट्रक्शंस को फॉलो करते हैं. इफ वी फेल टू फॉलो, इट विल नॉट मैनिफेस्ट. हाउ द आयरन विल बिकम फायर? टिल द टाइम इट इज विद इन फायर. कृष्ण सेज महात्मा नास्तु माम पार्था देवीं प्रकृति माश्रिता. So how one is under the Devi Prakashati, the divine qualities? Bhajanti ananya manasa. Because he is performing bhajan. How? Ananya. He does not fail to perform bhajan. Entire his life is always full of bhajan. He only performs bhajan. But to the extent one is under guidance, one is under the instruction, one is under the direction, then he will not be confused. Simple, na? You try to understand. Who will get confused? Only that person who does not have guidance. Life will be such a simple life. What we have to do? We just have to follow the guidance. There is no confusion. Confusion will only come when one performs a whimsical action. What is Trividitap? Trividitap is Adi Devik, Adi Bhautik, and Adhyatmika. These are Kalesh. Klesha means that which gives tribulations, or that which inflict suffering to the soul. Soul, to the extent we do not recognize with soul, that means to the body and mind. Are you hearing, Sonika? I don't see you. I could see the message. Okay. You have become visible. So this is Adi Devik, Adi Bhautik, and Adhyatmik. So everyone in this material world, he gets this gift from material nature. He receives this Trividitap. And who can remove this Trividitap is Gurudev. He releases the disciple through his instructions. He liberates the disciples through his Vani. Of course, the disciple has to be sincere. He must attempt to the extent, fullest. The tap will be there, but he will not be infected by the tap. Krishna says, Prasade sarva dukkhanam haniyasya upajayate. प्रसन्न चेतसा हि आशु बुद्धिया पर्यावतिष्ठते नास्ति बुद्धि आयुक्तस्य न चायुक्तस्य भावना न च भाव्यता शांति अशांतस्य कुतो सुखम. Second chapter. It will come in this chapter only. Okay, I will have to stop here. It is 5 minutes past 9. So my request is only those who are practicing, those all of you, and please activate your preaching mode. You please try to connect with, think about the benefit of other souls also. Try to speak with them, call them. Yagnesh is not there. He is also in the sleep mode. We should wake up. First, we should wake up and we then help others to also wake up. Okay. Thank you very much. And we will continue. Today, I purposefully spent this entire session on this verse, but next verse I will complete this section, the first section. Very beautiful. The second chapter, one of Srila Prabhupada's disciples summarizes the second chapter as GITA. So confusion means one is in not having the shelter of Guru. So Guru removes the confusion. So first 11 verses talk about Guru. Arjuna accepts Krishna as Guru. And then what Guru does, Guru gives Atma Gyan. So that is Krishna will speak about the knowledge of soul. That is from verse 12 to 30. And also Guru gives two duties, occupational and constitutional. How to balance and perform both. And whoever performs both the duties, he comes to the state of realization. Atma Ram. Okay. So thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavad-Gita Yatharu. Yes, Kunal. Quickly.
प्रभु जी ये विदित वशमल और अविदित वशमल थोड़ा सा एक बार प्रभु जी आप
मैंने बताया था विदित का मतलब है to know.
Okay.
One who knows the science of solution, or one who knows what are the problems of life. And avidit means one who does not know. Why? Because he is absorbed in other activities. He has no time. Even if he is poor, his mind is still occupied. The self-absorption. Self-absorption does not allow us to progress in the path of self-realization. That is Kripana and Brahman.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.